everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are new to my channel, let me introduce myself. I am Nivedita Kauri, MBBS student at Bankura Sammiloni Medical College, West Bengal. Today, I will be describing the ECG, regulation of cardiac activity and some disorders of circulatory system. But before watching this video, you must have a clear idea about the cardiac cycle. I have made a separate video on that topic. If you haven't watched that video, first watch that, then this one. Two terminologies you should know after knowing the cardiac cycle. These are the stroke volume and cardiac output. During contraction, each ventricle pumps out approximately 70 ml of blood. This is the stroke volume. And if we multiply stroke volume with heart rate, then the result will be the cardiac output. On an average, it is 5 liters per minute in a healthy individual. So, cardiac output is the volume of blood which is pumped by each ventricle per minute. Now, I am starting ECG or electrocardiography. As you must be knowing that ECG is not a very short topic, but detailed discussion on it is not needed for your NEET UG exam. I will describe it in a very simple way as per your NCERT book. The procedure of recording of electrical activity of heart is known as electrocardiography. The machine used for recording is the electrocardiograph and the recording which we get is the electrocardiogram. It was discovered by a physiologist, Sir Einthoven. He was awarded Nobel Prize for his invention. For recording the electrical activity of heart, we use 12 leads. These leads can be divided into 3 groups. 3 are limb leads, another 3 are augmented leads and rest 6 are the chest leads. Each of the lead has a positive and a negative terminal. The machine measures the potential difference between these two terminals, which is represented as deflection, and we see the result in the form of waves. Let's see how a typical ECG looks like. It looks like this one. This is the P wave. It represents atrial depolarization. Then this is the QRS complex. QRS complex represents ventricular depolarization. Atrial depolarization will lead to atrial contraction and ventricular depolarization will lead to ventricular contraction. But atrial repolarization merges with ventricular depolarization. That's why we do not get a separate wave for atrial repolarization. Next, this wave is the T wave. It represents ventricular repolarization. Can you see a tiny wave here? It's not a constant wave. It is known as the U wave. U wave represents the repolarization of Purkinje fibers and the papillary muscles. Now you tell me, can we determine heart rate from ECG? Yes, we can. We can determine the heart rate by counting the number of QRS complex for a given time period. Apart from determining the heart rate, ECG has a great clinical significance. That's why electrocardiography or ECG is also known as poor man's echocardiography. Coming to the regulation of cardiac activity. Can you remember that I have said our heart contains specialized cardiac muscle which is known as the junctional tissue or the nodal tissue. This can produce and conduct electrical impulse without any external stimulus. So, our heart is auto-regulated. But there is a cardiac center in the medulla oblongata that can modify our cardiac activity. It modifies our cardiac activity with the help of autonomic nervous system. You must be knowing that autonomic nervous system has two parts, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system increases the heart rate, it increases the force of contraction of myocardium, so it increases the cardiac output also. And the function of parasympathetic nervous system is just opposite to that of the sympathetic nervous system. So it decreases heart rate, it decreases the force of contraction and it decreases cardiac output. Now we have two adrenal glands on the upper pole of kidney. These are known as adrenal glands. And from the medulla of the adrenal gland, two hormones are released. They are the noradrenaline and adrenaline. These two hormones can also stimulate the cardiac activity. Let's discuss some disorders of circulatory system. First is hypertension or the high blood pressure. Before understanding high blood pressure, we should know what blood pressure is. Blood pressure is the lateral pressure exerted by the column of blood on the vessel wall when blood is flowing through them. Normally, it is 120 by 80. 120 millimeter of mercury is the systolic pressure and 80 millimeter of mercury is the diastolic pressure. When BP value comes to be 140 by 90 or more on repeated checks, then the person is said to be suffering from hypertension. Hypertension for a long time is obviously bad for health. It can lead to different heart diseases and it can affect our vital organs also. Next one is coronary artery disease or atherosclerosis. Here, cholesterol, calcium, fibrous tissue gets deposited on the inner aspect of arterial wall. As you can see here, all these substances has been deposited on the inner aspect. So, the lumen becomes shorter and blood supply to the heart is compromised. Next one is angina pectoris. Angina pectoris is chest pain due to decreased blood supply to the cardiac muscle. Heart attack. Heart attack is the damage of cardiac muscle due to decreased blood supply. Next is heart failure. In simple words, heart is failing to do its job. What is the job of heart? Yes, it is involved in pumping action. When heart fails to pump blood effectively, then it is known as heart failure or cardiac failure. It is also known as congestive heart failure because it is almost always associated with pulmonary congestion or congestion of lungs. Cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest is a condition when the heart stops beating. So, we have completed a big chapter of human physiology, body fluids and circulation. I have tried my best to simplify it. If you go through all the 5 episodes I made and my video on cardiac cycle, I can assure you that you will not face any difficulty to solve any question from this chapter. If you feel my videos to be helpful, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Press the bell icon to get notified about new videos. Thank you and happy learning.